Hello, everyone. It's John Colvin with Century 21 FM Realty. Just wanted to take a couple minutes of your time and explain special assessments. It's been a really hot topic in our area. We've seen a lot about it in the news. We hear about it from our buyers and sellers. So I just wanted to really lay out what special assessments are. Most common areas we talk about special assessments are new developments. In a new development, before this development occurs, is typically a farm field. So there's nothing there. So the roads have to be built, the water line, sewer line, gas, electric, all of the infrastructure needs to be put into what was at one time recently just a farm field. So that's where the special assessments typically are the highest. We're starting from nothing and building a new community out of it. But just because you don't live in a new development doesn't mean that you're immune from special assessments. Special assessments come on your property anytime that there is any improvement to the infrastructure. And it doesn't have to be right in front of your home. It can be on a roadway that leads to your community. Anything that benefits your property by the improvements of this infrastructure gets billed to the residents that benefit from those improvements. So first I want to talk just a minute about how this is all funded. Typically the city will sell municipal bonds. So very common to do. Municipal bonds are very attractive to investors because they're typically state and federal income tax free. So what that means is they can sell the bonds to investors and pay a lower interest rate to those investors, or a lower return on that investment, because it's not taxed typically at the state or federal level. So that's a way that the cities get funding for these projects and keep the costs as low as possible for these projects. But if you live in a community that's anywhere from, I don't know, 10 to 50 years old, you're probably going to see special assessments also. As roads begin to deteriorate, sewer lines need to be replaced, water lines need to be replaced, sidewalks. The same process is generally used by most cities to sell bonds to pay for these improvements. City's responsible for making these improvements, and then it's billed back to the residents as special assessments. There's a lot of factors that will go into how much for each property that assessment will be. Sometimes it's how many frontage feet you have. For storm sewers, it has more to do with how many square feet your lot is and how much will your property be putting into that storm sewer versus a property next to you that might be smaller. So there's a lot of factors that go into that, but we're going to take a look at a map of a couple different areas and show you what those special assessments are. Another great thing about special assessments is when they come in and do the work, they pay the contractors. Those special assessments billed to you can be spread out over a few years for certain projects, or 20 to 25 years for the larger projects like water lines, streets, sewers. They can be stretched out over a longer period of time so that payment stays as low as possible for you and you don't have to come up with all that money up front. So special assessments really are a pretty good deal for getting the improvements done in these neighborhoods that need to be done. So let's jump in now, and I'm going to show a couple neighborhoods here and just explain how this special assessment process works. We're going to take a look first at the Deer Creek subdivision in Fargo, just off of Cheyenne and 52nd Avenue South. This whole area until about 2011 or 2012 was just an open field. So this is a pretty new development for our area. But a couple of things I want to point out, we're talking about special assessment. There are roads such as this road, which is a common road for all of these homes in this development. So when improvements were done for this road, the installation of this road, and any future improvements on this road, this is a road that most likely would be assessed throughout this whole subdivision, meaning each home would have a small responsibility in paying for this improvement. But once we start to get down residential streets, then each of these residential streets, all of these homes that face these residential streets, they benefit the most from the improvements on these roads. So at the time when this road was built, the entire community received a small special assessment per lot. But as they start to branch off into these neighborhood roads, the the biggest burden of that project comes from the homes that are located right on that road. So, for example, we were talking just a little bit about water lines, sewer lines, road, gas, everything that is put in this road during new construction. The total cost of this project to get the infrastructure in is then divided by the number of homes that that road will service. So when we're talking about like my special assessments versus my neighbor's special assessments, in general, they're going to be really close to the same. But as we zoom in here on some of these, if we were to actually look at lot lines, some of these lots are slightly bigger than other lots, especially when you get to the corner lots. So when we're talking about like the storm sewer part of a special assessment, it's more calculated off of how much water would this property contribute to the storm sewer system versus a smaller lot, perhaps across the road. Also, it's divided up by frontage foot. How many frontage feet does each lot have on that road? That's going to then carry a percentage of the cost of building this entire road. So this is an example of a new development, again, 2010, 2012, give or take a couple of years. None of this was here. So when the city approved this subdivision, the city then has to come up with funding for this. And that's where those municipal bond sales come into play. They sell the bonds to investors. Again, generally federal and state tax free. The interest rate on those are generally less because of that. Investors are willing to invest more and for longer periods of time because of the tax benefit of that. So the city sells the bonds, the city comes in and has all this work performed, and then they bill each home their portion of the special assessments responsible, or the total cost that that home is responsible for this project. Instead of, let's just come up with a number, let's say that number is $50,000. They don't come in year one and ask for a check for $50,000 from the homeowner. They spread those special assessment payments out over a few years for like sidewalks and streetlights versus 20 to 25 years for the streets, the sewer, the larger improvements there. So when we hear special assessments are not necessarily a bad thing. It's a new improvement, or it's an improvement to wherever you live, which means that is going to last a lot longer. New neighborhoods typically won't have any new special assessments for many years because all of the infrastructure is brand new. But when we start to branch out into other parts of Fargo, let's just take a look here at, let's say, Bluemont Lakes. I'm not sure when Bluemont Lakes was created as a development, but at that time, they went through the same process, bonding for the money to put in all of the infrastructure for all these homes. Well, after many years, these streets need to be redone. Maybe water lines need to be improved. Sidewalks need to be replaced. So again, the city would sell municipal bonds to come up with the funding for those projects, pay the contractors to do the work, and then the home that benefits, or the homes that benefit from that improvement, would receive their portion of that special assessment. So special assessments aren't exclusively for new developments and new construction. We do see that all over our communities. And again, special assessments are not by default a bad thing. It's a great improvement on the communities that we live in, and it allows those communities to thrive for many, many years to come. Another quick thing to add to special assessments also is it varies from community to community. One thing that investors depend on is credit rating, so to speak. Just like you and I have a credit rating, So do municipalities, and we're talking about cities, counties, townships. It's a confidence factor for the investors. So as communities have a better credit rating, they will have better success at securing these low interest bonds from investors. So just think of it as if we have a high or low credit score and we go to buy a new home or a home, then our interest rate may depend on what our credit rating is. It's no different for municipalities, they're the same way. Another thing also to mention about these special assessments, some municipalities do have funds that they contribute to some of these infrastructure improvements. They have capital improvement funds. They just have more in reserves where some of these special assessment costs can be offset by funds that the communities have. Some of the smaller communities just frankly don't have those funds set aside. So it's really important to ask what the special assessments are. Are there any pending special assessments coming up? Um, um, Anything that can help avoid a surprise about special assessments. That goes for buyers and sellers. Oftentimes there'll be pending special assessments and the sellers are unaware of them. We can look those up for you so that there are no surprises. So if you have any questions about special assessments, please reach out to one of us at Century 21 FM Realty. We would all love to answer any questions you have about special assessments. Thanks again. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.